I'm here somewhere.
Call the meeting to order at 6:04. Oh, don't worry about it. And so if we could have a roll call.
Lyons. Committee members Edgerton.
Here.
Wolf. Oliver. Here. Hutchison. Here. Lovelace.
Here.
Gabrielle. Hintermeister.
Here.
Okay, and report of the chair. I did attend the joint meeting of the, or it was an implementation board meeting, or actually it was both, in December, and there was nothing really novel or new, and so I won't have a report on that. But in other items, thank you folks for putting the members on the front. But if we could also get an email for Mr. Sullivan so people can contact you, and also there may be somewhere in here, but I don't see a phone number either, just to make it easy for easier for folks to contact you, and also maybe even the website address. So that's the end of my report, and the advisory committee member announcements, notes, or however you'd like to do it. If we could start with Jan over here to my left.
Excuse me?
Do you have anything that you want to bring before the body? Okay. Joe?
No, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, actually I do. My first. I wanted to ask Mr. Sullivan if he was going to report on the Northern California Habitat Conservation Planning Workshop.
I didn't go. I was sick.
Oh, sorry. I couldn't remember. It was November. Okay. It's like seems so far away.
It was a long time ago.
Unfortunately, I rushed out of the office and I didn't bring my notes from it. So I just brought the agenda just to let folks know what went on. It was very good. I wish I brought my notes because there was a lot of interesting conversation. There always is. But just to let you know that the agenda items were using science to detect species trends in response to a changing environment, wetland restoration, history, ecology, and community. That's always really actually very fascinating stuff. Funding conservation plan implementation, federal, state, and local, the economic benefits of HCPs, and lessons learned from regional conservation plans. The other thing I wanted to mention was, it's just on a personal note, I had the opportunity to hike San Bruno Mountain about a week ago. San Bruno Mountain is the first HCP that ever was, and they have their own butterfly issues, the endangered mission blue butterfly. And it was really interesting to listen to their take on an HCP because of how it was written then. They really sort of broke the ice, and so there's a lot of lessons from that HCP learned. They had a nearby hill, I forgot, the name escapes me, that was prime habitat for the endangered mission blue that they lost to development because it wasn't part of the original package. So that's, we're really fortunate, I think, being where we are in terms of the lessons learned and the HCP we have now. So just wanted to mention that.
Can I comment on that right quick, Julie? This is just a side piece of information, but I think most of you are aware that the bay checker spot butterfly that we have here on Coyote Ridge is one of the covered species. They're trying to reintroduce that to San Bruno Mountain. The problem is there's no Plantago erecta there. So what I did along with Stu Weiss and some others of us last week, we took the Plantago that does appear on San Bruno down to some of the bay checker spots and see if they would eat it. And they munched it like crazy. So they're going to do a reintroduction of the bay checker spot on San Bruno Mountain, which wasn't in their initial plan, but that's really a cool thing because It's expanding their territory into a place that they didn't think would do. But now they found out that we got video of them munching this different plantago. It's related, but not the same. So anyway, it was new information that kind of ties into that.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Dick. And Kyle? Anything for the good of the group?
No.
All right. Craig? All right. Getting away easy.
Sure, lines.
Yes.
Okay, Julie reminded me of something. You know, I went to the California Native Plant Conference that was a couple weeks ago. And I've never been to one of these, and if you ever have a chance, I would really recommend it because it was really very fun. Even though I'm not really a plant person, don't really know that much about plants, they covered all kinds of restoration kind of concepts, a lot of stuff that would really be of general interest to anybody. In particular, they had a bunch of sessions on restoration and kind of related activities. One was on, that I didn't get a chance to go to, was just kind of lessons learned from San Bruno, HCP. But the other thing that was really interesting that's kind of relevant to us was there were two different reports by biologists working for the water district on Coyote ceanothus. And in particular, one of the biologists, Janelle Hillman, just kind of casually at the end of her talk, actually had some nice things to say about working on a project that was involving the HCP, and that it kind of gave them the opportunity to do some proper planning for reintroduction of Coyote ceanothus. Apparently they're doing some take during the seismic retrofit of Anderson Dam. So they're taking some Coyote ceanothus from there to somewhere in Kirby Canyon or somewhere else in Coyote Ridge. And apparently they had a failed effort because of some root rot. I mean, I don't know all the details. So they'll be redoing that. But actually it was a very interesting story, just the initial transplantation that they did with Coyote ceanothus, kind of the lessons I learned from that, and then their continued plans, and some nice things to say about an HCP. So my personal thought was that would be if she was interested, that would be a good story to kind of pass around a little bit, or even have people have her maybe give a talk somewhere in this forum or somewhere else, because it's just a really interesting story. It's locally relevant and kind of relevant to the HCP.
I could ask her about coming here to speak about botany in general and working with the HCP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Then moving on to public comments for items not on the agenda, and one more request. If you could just reword a little bit, the length of public comments may be limited by the chair. I would suggest, with the concurrence of the other members, that we just may want to say 3 minutes, or to me that's the general that I've seen, and I think rather than, and if people tailor their comments to 3 minutes, we'll just be able to, if they can't say it in 3 minutes, well then let's be on the agenda. Is that satisfactory with that? Okay, so 3 minutes on that one. So are there any public comments for the items not on the agenda? And thank you very much for the shout out at the last meeting. They bypassed my little spot on the agenda. Yes. Okay, for the Public Advisory Committee action, regular business, item number 1, selection of 2015 Public Advisory Committee Chair and Vice Chair. Edmund, would you like to lead on that?
No, nothing other than it's the two other boards that are Brown Act boards also recently just reappointed and selected. Well, the governing board reappointed both the chair and vice chair, the Wasserman and Tucker. And then Wasserman will continue to serve as the chair of the implementation board, and Water District Director Lazat will be acting as vice chair, taking the place of Brian Schmidt,
who lost the election. Okay, and so then opening the chair for either nominations, motions, or who who does the members of the board wish to be the chair and vice chair, or just one or the other?
Can we have a motion that we keep this existing situation as we have it?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, call for the question. Call. Aye.
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 All right, thank you. So selected. Thank you all.
And Chairman, just to let you know, Georgia Treffs Garfink resigned from the board effective today.
Okay.
Or I should say the PAC, the committee.
And Liz was appointed,
Yes.
and so we're just waiting for her to put it on her calendar.
Yes. I reminded her about this date. I'll send her all the meeting dates.
Okay. Thank you. And then if we, the next item, number 2, approve the minutes of the November 6th regular meeting. Could I have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve?
Second.
And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 3, California Association of Environmental Professional Awards, recommended action. This does not require any action, and it's informational item only. This is fairly significant.
It is.
So you want to tell us about it and
Yes,
share some?
I'm not familiar with this particular award, but it is the 3rd award that the plan has received in the last, I think, 2.5 years. So this is a group, as you noted, the Association of Environmental Professionals, and the plan itself was awarded the Outstanding Document Award. And the conference is in Santa Barbara towards the end of March, I think March 22nd through 25th. So it's quite an achievement. It's a credit to all the people that were involved in putting the plan together, the municipalities, the environmental community, the development community, the water district, the VTA, and everyone else that was involved, the wildlife agencies, that everyone came together and were able to reach a compromise. And that allowed this plan to be approved, and we're all here today because of that effort. So it was nice to see that some organization, a statewide organization, recognized that.
And will someone from the agency or one of the board members be able to attend?
I'm planning on attending. I notified all the PAC members and the 2 boards. If anyone wants to attend, let me know. I know there's we talked about it today with this informal meeting group called the Implementation Committee of the cities and all the co-permittees to get together and talk about issues, about plan implementation. And we were talking about coordinating efforts to go down there. There's a video presentation that goes along with the award ceremony, from what I understand. So we'll try to get some electeds and whoever else would like to participate in that effort. But it was truly a group effort to get that to get this plan done. And yeah, I think whoever would like to participate either in the video event or go down to the conference and be part of the award ceremony, we'd be glad to have you.
Thank you. And do any of the members have any comments about the award?
After 7 years of work, that's the least they could do for us.
Well, I took outstanding to be the highest award that this group does give out. All right. So hearing that, oh, did you have something?
Yeah, I attended the conference last year, and the work they do with HCP is significant. They spend a lot of effort and energy talking about HCPs, and we even played a round of HCP Jeopardy, which I really enjoyed. But the meeting is worthwhile. Aside from the award, I think the award is a great achievement, and I'm happy to see it bestowed upon us. And the meeting it's a very good meeting. So I hope someone goes.
Good, thank you. All right, number 4, AB 1600 Development Impact Fee Report, fiscal year 2013-14. and we are to review this, and that is an Edmund game, I think.
Yes. So one of the requirements of state law is that an organization that collects development fees, that there's a nexus between the development fees and how the money is spent. And one of the requirements of this law, also known as the Mitigation Fee Act, is that every year we do a report on monies collected and money spent by the agency. So not all the money we collect is AB 1600 related, and I'll go over that in detail. So AB 1600 requires any jurisdiction imposing development fees must report the following: a brief description of the type of fee in each account or fund, which for us that's burrowing owl, land cover, serpentine, nitrogen deposition, wetlands, so forth and so on. The amount of the fee, the beginning and ending balance of the account or fund, and the amount of the fees collected and the interest earned. So AB 1600 revenues for the agency in fiscal year 13-14 was it's a little bit behind in how this process works, even though we're in fiscal year 14-15. This is a report on the previous fiscal year. We're $310,652. Non-AB 1600 revenues were $640 or $640,160. And the AB 1600 report balance was a negative $394,575. Now you're asking, well, why was it a negative? Because it only looks at AB 1600 fees. So those fees that we were collected, the $640,000 were not factored into the AB 1600 calculus. There was a negative balance after the agency expenses of $705,409. So the summary of agency receipts and expenses is on page 16 of your packet, and I can go over this with you. And then the next page, page 17, shows you all the revenues that we got, both AB 1600 and non-AB 1600. That'll help explain some of the numbers. So as you can see on page 16, it kind of lays out land cover fees and wetland mitigation fees that were collected last fiscal year. And then it lays out all the agency expenses in the last fiscal year. And the expenses were greater than the amount of AB 1600 fees collected. But overall, the agency was in the black last year by, I think, around $250,000 by the end of the fiscal year, the amount of money that was rolled over into this fiscal year. And that's the end of my report on that. If there's any questions.
So what is it about those fees that make them non-AB 1600? What's the distinction?
Well, some of the fees collected by the agency were related to, there were some grants that the agency received. There was some monies that were, there were some monies that were given by the water district to the agency, sort of like startup funding. There was also projects that we call them voluntary contributions. So the amount of money that was contributed to the agency was a result of CEQA in a lot of cases, the CEQA mitigation requirements, or in some cases letters written by environmental groups or wildlife agencies highlighting, like we got a check this year from the Apple Corporation for nitrogen deposition for nearly $130,000. They're outside the plan area, but there were letters that were written saying your project, and Apple agreed to mitigate the effects of nitrogen, and it wouldn't be counting as AB 1600. So those are some examples.
But those are all things that really were not fees collected
Right,
by.
right. And any money we would get from foundations or gifts or anything like that would also not be considered. Yeah.
Thanks.
And that means that those funds can be expended without any nexus to the group that paid the money.
They can be spent with more flexibility, but our intent is to spend them if they were to be used. If somebody was writing us a check for burrowing owls, and there was the city of Morgan Hill had a burrowing owl. Richard, as you're aware of, they had a burrowing owl local ordinance where they collected fees. Those monies will be spent on burrowing owl. The monies that Apple and others have given us will be spent on management of the serpentine grasslands. So the burrowing owl monies will be spent for managing, trying to enhance the burrowing owl populations. They won't necessarily be used for land acquisitions, at least in those two cases. But if we got foundation monies or grants, we're hoping the majority of that will be used for land acquisition or restoration projects.
You raised a question, Ed, at least in my mind. Is there any effort being made so Morgan Hill isn't double collected? So they're collecting a fee for burrowing owl, and we're collecting a fee for burrowing owl. And
Yes.
It's a duplicate fee, which doesn't seem right to the development community. Are we making any efforts to rectify that?
I've talked to the city about that, and it's somehow related to the settlement agreement with some of the environmental community, and they're updating their general plan. I would talk to sort of the city manager and probably the director of development services, and because that's the determination they made. I wasn't involved with it. I wasn't asked. It was a local government decision independent of the agency. Yeah.
Other?
Yes. Just questions of curiosity here. So, County of Santa Clara, the Planning Department, land cover fees, were these just something in the pipeline, or I just wanted to sort of get clarification on that?
Sure. Which are you talking about on page 17?
Yeah, I'm looking at page 17, yeah.
Okay, and you're wondering about County of Santa Clara?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are wetland mitigation fees.
Okay.
So the land cover fees are not paid because they're doing land in lieu, so they're enrolling nearly 13,000 acres of county parkland as mitigation to offset their land cover fees. There's no offset currently for wetland waters fees.
Yeah.
So that's why you see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I see Gavilan College 3 times the campus modernization. Is that for Gilroy?
Correct.
And one of them is not part of AB 1600?
Yeah, that's that. We have a surcharge. I'm assuming. Well, we have 3 fees on participating special entities. One is this pay to play, because all the partners put up money and staff time to put the plan together. So, and this fee process was established before I came on board. Oops.
Nobody's moving.
It would help if we wave our arms.
Yes, they didn't like my question.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah. Quick thinking. I want you in the lifeboat. So.
Like this, it was the same kind of thing.
So we have these application processing fees for PSEs. We have this pay to play. I think Ken called it a surcharge. And then there's the actual land cover fees that they pay. So I'm assuming that's how it's all, why it's described that way.
Okay. And I was just curious about the First American Title Company. What was, because that's quite the fee.
Yes, that is. That's a Morgan Hill project, and it's sort of that voluntary contribution where they paid through some negotiation with the city through CEQA. Don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I can find out if you want to know more. Yeah.
It was a question of curiosity.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about getting the money. I'm
No,
just.
I'm not either.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have one question in 2013-14. So why so late? Or is there?
I just think it's sort of the reporting process for the AB 1600 process. I'm new to this, so
Right.
yeah. So I think you do the reporting the beginning of the new year. So you close out the fiscal year, maybe, and this is the way it was established for this agency to do it. Others may do the reporting sooner than that. I don't know.
So this was calendar year, not fiscal year?
It's reflective of the fiscal year. So it would have been from July 1st. I don't think the agency was quite in existence yet, but July 1st of 2013 to June 30th of 2014. And that's what all this reflects.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay.
Can we, sorry, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Can we go to page 18?
Yes.
I wouldn't mind a little clarification on some of the categories. A
Sure.
little nebulous to me.
Sure.
So one of them is under technical and permitting support, information management. Could you just qualify that a little bit more?
Yes, I'm assuming that has to do with the establishment of the geo browser and the web page. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It may have to do with some of the buying of computers, and the city of Morgan Hill is our IT support, so it probably covers some of that. The county of Santa Clara does our GIS work for us. So I didn't get into the weeds on that number, but I'm assuming that's what it represents.
And the covered activities, plan review assistance, is that the consultants looking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That would be ICF.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? Okay, do we have any comments from the public on this item number 4? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 5. Review fiscal year 2015-16 development fee adjustments. And I think that's you again, Ed.
Correct. So the plan calls for automatic inflation adjustments to the plan's development fees. There was an ordinance adopting the development fees that they would incorporate this annual adjustment. The ordinance was in 2013. As noted in the attached urban economics report, the 3 fees that fund land acquisition will increase by 5.7%. We're changing the ordinance date to July 1st from June 1st to be more in alignment with the fiscal year calendar of state and local government. There's a song and dance you go through to change an ordinance, so it takes several months. So once it's adopted by the governing board, the new date will be July 1st. So the fee increases will be effective July 1st, and the wetland and burrowing owl fees will increase by 3.6% from fiscal year 15 levels. In fiscal year 14, the fees that fund land acquisitions increased by over 9%, and the other fees increased by nearly 10%. So these fees are not quite as high of an increase as what happened in the previous year. Fee increases also apply to participating special entities. Indices used to justify fee increases were the house price index and the consumer price index. And the new development fee schedules is attached to the staff report, and it's Exhibit A. So we went to the governing board for the approval. These are automatic fee increases, but we felt since, and they're administrative by nature, but we felt that given the newness of the agency, it would be advisable to have the governing board approve the fees by resolution. And as part of your duties,
Is to review and comment.
exactly.
Okay. Craig?
So can the adjustments be down?
In theory, possibly. I've never heard of that happening. I think there could be no fee increase. I'm pretty sure they'll never go down, but I can check into that. But I do know there is the possibility that they wouldn't go up based on.
Because
Yeah.
I'm glad to see revenues going up for
Yeah.
the agency. That's great. But the CPI wasn't even close to that. And the housing index, yeah, we went through a bounce from a bust a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering how they come up with something like that. And if we go through another downturn, which there's a likelihood we might someday,
Yes.
30, 40%, which we saw a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that then what would probably happen is there would just be no increase. It would stay the same.
Correct.
That's a pretty good deal for us.
Usually sometimes I know when I was in Placer County, certain fees were waived for development projects, or during the downturn they were usually minor in nature. But typically, and Richard would know this better than all of us, that fees usually when they go up they don't come down. But I can look into that. It's a good question.
And one of the problems I'm having, of course, is that we have a fee without representation. In other words, we're creating fees on landowners, people who own land, and they have no clue that this fee is going up. And so we're really we're taxing without any kind of representation. Those people say, yeah, we ought to do it. And that troubles me a bit. Mm-hmm. I think when I see, right now, we're about where we were in the height of 2007 in the housing market. So we're raising the fee based upon a return to normality, and that to me is not correct. Because what we're doing is attacking on fees, and pretty soon we just kind of get used to those fees going up, and at some point then we have some rebelling by the landowners, the farmers, the people who own the land, and say, hey, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. So I think we need to be sure that we have an accountability of the justification for fee increases before we just blindly do it. And I know that's not within our purview of this committee, but at least I think you need to take that input back and say, or at least I know that the people in the development community are kind of saying what's going on.
Understood. Thank you.
In that same line, does this go to the implementation board or the governing board, whichever one it is, before it goes up?
Well, the ordinance, we did it this year,
Right.
but the ordinance was written, which was approved by the
Automatic.
Automatic.
I understand that.
It was approved by the governing board back in 2013.
Okay, then as a, not a landowner, but as I'm just looking for the right of it. And so I would think it would need to go to them before, so that if someone does want to complain or praise or do whatever, then that could be heard. And then I'm guessing that the board could decide not to do a full increase as the mechanism, or not.
True. Yes. It's a bit of a conundrum because the board adopted an ordinance that leads to automatic increases. Sort of the power was taking away from them. We returned a little bit of power to them this time, which if they had turned turned down the increase, it would have been an interesting conundrum because they are an automatic increase based on, it's like the automatic COLAs going up for Social Security, or let's say some employee contract wages are increased through CPI. That's kind of what's happening here, is that this ordinance leads to an automatic increase based on, and in Santa Clara County, land prices are, I mean, I moved from upstate New York to Sacramento, Grass Valley, Sacramento area, and housing prices doubled from upstate New York to that area. When I moved from Sacramento to here, house prices doubled again. So part of what's going on here is that we have probably one of the hottest real estate markets in the country, and these fees are reflecting that increase because we take money, right or wrong, from the development community and people who want to do something, convert their land from whatever to housing or commercial development, and then we have to turn around that and go out and buy land for conservation. So if we didn't keep pace, we would not be able to buy land over time. So that's the rationale. I'm not defending it. I'm just explaining it.
Not asking for
Yeah.
any defense or justification, but just so that the board has to make a conscious decision that they are in fact raising the fees, and therefore they're accountable.
Yes, and you were at the meeting, and you remember what Supervisor Wasserman said, that the intent was to do these little increases over time.
Than being
Right.
hit with in
Right.
the face by a
Right.
speeding truck.
But I understand the concern that are expressed by the committee members here.
Ed, by saying it's automatic, is it automatic because of the provision of HCP? Wherein is that automatic provision? Who changes that, or who installed it?
Oh, it was the governing board adopted the resolution. So it wasn't anything that, I wasn't here at the time, but it wasn't anything that Ken was insisting upon. Yeah.
That board then could change that at some future time?
Technically, yes. Technically, yes. Yes.
And is there any indication that the land that we would be buying, or have been buying, is increasing in the same extent that land that is available for development is increasing?
Yeah, I think Kyle would have a better handle on that than and Craig than I would. We haven't acquired any land yet, but what we're talking about here is primarily ranch land and farmland, and some land that's undeveloped. It's owned by. Craig was telling me about some property today that's owned by a private corporation. So it's either owned and not being developed, or it's owned and it's being used for farming or ranching, and those have inherent value. Ranching and farming has an inherent economic value, but it's usually a lower value. Not always, but it's usually a lower value than land for rooftops or high commercial value, let's say in Mountain View. So I think they would have a better handle on how the price of land is going up if Kyle wanted to buy some more land to graze his cattle, or Craig wanted to buy some land to purchase. I've been knocking on doors, but no one's offered me their land yet.
I do have a comment on that, because the situation we're up against, and everybody in the conservation community, is competing with the development community for that land. And so we look at, just using an example that doesn't directly apply necessarily, but Coyote Valley, where the agricultural value of that land might be $20,000 an acre, where the development value of it is 100 to 150 on the low end. So there is a relationship between, as the development value goes up and there's more pressure on that, even the conservation value goes up because of the competition there for that land. So it's a conundrum, and we're all trying to find land to preserve, and it's really difficult because everybody's holding out for development. So there is a direct relationship there.
I'd like to also add that one of the goals of this HCP is to put together a continuous piece of land that enriches the habitat and preserves. Coyote Valley specific plan was going to take a big chunk of that. Hopefully that's been held off, and so the idea there's a lot of land that is valuable that could go either way, and hopefully we have enough funds and resources to secure that land for the preserve.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll put my 2 cents in. Kyle's not looking for land to buy because that's not realistic to graze and pay off land and compete with HCP, Fish and Game, and Co-Park because they knock it out of the park on prices. But I think we need to focus on, if we do purchase land, we hold the development rights and then turn it over so that someone can ranch or farm on that. And that would be the strategy that I've been talking about ever. And also like blocking moves. So if there is a lot of land going up to the foothills, if you buy certain pieces that blocks the growth up to the hills and stuff like that, that would be the strategy I would hope that we would go after. So, and you could also piece it together with parks and ranch lands, because the ranch lands, you have someone on there that has their life invested into it, instead of a park where the guy's there from 9 to 5 and once he's off the clock, that's it, and who knows what's going on afterwards. So.
No, thank you. Julie?
Yeah, I just have a question of clarification, all that heated discussion. I just wanted to know. If I'm understanding these 2 sheets right, one says land cover development fees, the other one is the development fee schedule. They're both one and the same, just one is the year prior, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so can I find out why on this one, on Zone C, it says small vacant sites between 0.5 and 10 acres, and everything henceforth says 2 acres, between 2 and 10 acres versus 0. So half an acre.
Page are you referring to?
So I'm on page 15.
Okay.
And then thereafter we're on page 22, and like I said, following I see always the 2 acres. So I just wanted.
Yeah, that's just an abbreviated schedule, the one that's part of, no.
So, but again,
Yeah.
why does it, there's a difference, right? So on Zone C is,
yeah.
you see it's
So it
between
says-
half an acre, and here it starts at 2 acres. So I'm just looking for the clarification.
Okay, no, I can't explain the differential. I can tell you that the new one is correct. I don't know why it's
2 acre.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I
yeah.
just want,
I
hey,
have-
if I'm wrong,
It was a
I'm
good
wrong.
catch.
Okay.
You guys are more thorough and investigative. Keep me on my toes here.
Thank you. Other? Jay?
If you guys are done talking about that particular thing.
I think so.
I had a different question. I kind of learned something that I didn't understand or didn't know about with respect to the burrow and owl fees. Mm-hmm. So I noticed in both the item 4 and 5 that the burrow and owl fee does not go towards purchasing land. Okay, it says for management only, or I'm not sure what the exact wording is. But on the other hand, the plan commits to to having under fee title or conservation easement a minimum of 600 acres of land. So I would have thought that the burrow and owl fee would have, gone towards the purchase of that land. So could you explain what seems it was confusing to me?
Yes. A big part of the burrowing owl strategy is managing existing populations of burrowing owls in lands that are already under conservation. Whether it's in Fremont with the Warm Springs unit of Don Edwards, or it's the outside of the sewage treatment and landfill area in the city of San Jose, or the city of Sunnyvale, Mountain View, Palo Alto potentially. So those communities and those entities need dollars to help manage and enhance the burrowing owl population. It's the conundrum that we face, that the owls are all in North County and suitable habitats in South County, and there's no birds. So the last population, there was a small population here in Morgan Hill. It's been absent from this area for a couple decades, I believe. So so the plan came up with this kind of extraordinary approach that I don't think any other plan, any other HCP is attempting, to sort of manage and enhance the population, with the hope that as the population expands in North County, the birds will expand, leave that area, and through connectivity or translocation or whatever strategies employed, that they will start coming down to South County, where the larger reserve system is envisioned. The 600 acres, some of that was envisioned to be acquired in North County, and there's talk with the city about some of their land maybe being enrolled in the reserve system. Nothing concrete, but there's definitely talks with them about that.
I'm sorry, Ed, which city? Sorry.
City of San Jose, sorry. So some of that voluntary contribution monies could be used for acquisition potentially. There's a little more flexibility. But given the price of the land in North San Jose, don't know. So we have commented on City of Santa Clara projects that will have a potentially adverse impact on burrowing owls. And if you do the math, when you look at Centennial Gateway and City Place, that if we are able to get them to mitigate for burrowing owl impacts through their CEQA process, then that could really help with some land acquisitions potentially up in that part of the world. But yeah, this is going to be a very difficult strategy to implement.
But
that's why you see the heavy hit on management, and there's another heavy one on serpentine. Yeah.
So I think I understand that, but really what we are saying though is that those burrowing owl fees are really meant to manage land which may be owned by somebody else, like in the case of that Warm Springs.
Correct.
On the refuge. But when we looked then at the plan's commitment to purchase through fee title or conservation easement, like 600 acres as part of burrowing owl habitat, that really comes out of kind of the habitat plan general fund.
Yes.
However
the land cover, and also foundation monies or grants. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Other questions, comments?
Along that line, just so I'm clear, because in our annual surveys of the Bay Checker Spot Butterfly, we have found 7 new locations of burrowing owls on Coyote Ridge. So what you said was to manage what is there so that hopefully they will expand in the future. There seems to be some evidence that they might be expanding. We do know that they were nesting up in the Altamont Pass, which is a high valley, and there's some thought that there's because nobody's been out to Coyote Ridge and surveyed them to see if they are out there in the summertime. Is there funding in there available that if they were shown to be nesting there, say we found juveniles, would there then be funds to purchase some lands up there, or to be more than just preserve what's there?
Yes, the UTC Coyote Ridge property will be the 1,881 acres will be enrolled in the reserve system. And I have approached the Pratt & Whitney UTC company about acquiring the balance of the property. and there is the potential for burrowing owls to be there. There was a report from the consultants that work for UTC that there was a fledgling seen out there. We haven't been able to confirm that. I think a lot of the birds have been seen in that area are overwintering, but they're not. But they're.
We don't know that yet.
Yeah. Well, that's the speculation.
It's speculation,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I'm hoping that that's not the case, and that some of them are breeding there. It would help with our ability to meet the goals and objectives of the burrowing owl strategy if that were the case.
Other questions? I have one other. We received mitigation fee from Apple from outside the area that's coming this way. So how is that noticed, or is there a process that the agency is looking at to look for things like that?
Yes, we've written letters to all the non-participating cities, letting them know that they can't claim that they're mitigating their nitrogen deposition impacts. The plan is not mitigating their impacts. The plan is mitigating the impacts of activities within the plan area, and that 27% of the nitrogen that's deposited in the grassland and oak woodlands of this county, of this plan area, come from the non-participating cities.
Only 27%?
Only 27%. The 50-something percent comes from development with that it is existing or will be. So the majority is still within the plan area. And then the others coming from who knows where. It could be coming from China, I assume, or San Francisco. But that's sort of the rash. So yes, we have written letters, and we also wrote a letter to Fremont because they have burrowing owls, and we get development notices from some of the communities. Some are choosing to ignore us. It came up, as you remember, Walt, at and the board was asking me some of the same questions, the implementation board members. And I said, well, we've written letters. We've written, letters to all these cities saying, hey, hello, we're here. Here are our issues. We've written comment letters on specific development projects. And as I posed to the implementation board, if they want more to be done, it would involve legal action, because Mountain View is taking this position that our plan mitigates their impacts, and they don't need to pay anything.
Yes, that's one of the reasons I brought up the question.
So
I think we have a legal hammer,
right,
but we don't know how strong that hammer might be.
Well, yeah, I only have so much authority and so much time.
Right. Yes.
So it would be a board decision if they want to join Audubon and Sierra Club and California Fish and Wildlife to sue these communities for not adequately mitigating their impacts because they affect our ability to achieve our conservation goals and objectives. I expressed this to the city of San Jose. I was disappointed that they did not write a comment letter on the City Place development, which is, city of San Jose was pretty vocal in their concern about the competitiveness of communities within the plan area with these extra fees, that they didn't think it was fair. Nitrogen was one of them. Burrowing owl was one of them. So we wrote letters. The state wrote letters, sort of in response to San Jose's concerns. And I expressed to San Jose that you need to write letters too. So we're in this as a team effort. And these impacts are cross-jurisdictional boundaries. The plan area is a jurisdictional boundary, but so to speak. But the impacts, like air pollution, water pollution, and affecting the sustainability of the burrowing owl population is they don't recognize plan area or jurisdictional boundaries. So it really is up to, I would say, conservation partners, the participating cities, and how aggressive they want to be in commenting on these projects, and whether our board wants to pursue legal action. And I would defer to the board and I take my marching orders from the board.
I would do that.
Yeah.
Julie?
May we have a copy of the letter?
Yes, I can send you some copies of the letters.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Others?
Oh, just wanted to make one comment toward Greg. Craig, you had said that you were surprised, but it's kind of reminiscent, at least for me, about a month or so ago when the Gilroy City Council did not vote to be included into the Open Space Authority, and one of the comments from the council member was, "Why should we? You guys are doing the job all around us. Why should we pay for it?" Same kind of attitude.
Offline, there's a story about that.
Oh, I know part of it. But to make that public comment.
Well, and that's not a dead issue yet.
No, but it is dead for a little while.
Yes. As a resident of Gilroy.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Any other? One last time. All right. Going on to item number 5. Review fiscal year 2015-16 development fee adjustments. Ed, you're up again.
Oh, yeah. Item 6, right?
5 or 6?
Is it 5 or 6? Do I have the wrong number on my thing here?
Or
Is it 5?
no, we just did number 5.
Yep.
All right, so now we're on number 6.
Okay.
Review approved update FY 14-15 budget.
Okay, thank you.
Can you reference a page on that? It just helped me out. I got it online here.
29.
29, thank you.
So revenues to date are nearly 2.8 million. I won't get it to the exact dollar unless you want me to. So, but I would turn your attention to page 30 and projected revenues and anticipated revenues. So in the first column, it's at the top of the page on page 30. Fees were anticipated to be $6 million in land cover, 0 in serpentine, 5,400 or 5.4 million in burrowing owl, nearly 400,000 in nitrogen, 300 in wetlands, PSE entry fees, 310, and grant funds, 2 million. And anticipated is projected to be 3.7 in land cover, 1 million in serpentine. There's a couple projects, Communication Hill, and potentially a San Jose Water Company project that lead me to make that $1 million anticipated revenue. I'm assuming, Ken didn't have the luxury of meeting with KB Homes like I did, so you could view the 3.7 and the 1 as sort of reflective of the 6. Burrowing owl fees are going to be a lot less than was anticipated, probably around 2 million. And that includes monies from City of Morgan Hill and the Water District, which is also a voluntary contribution for their water purification plant. And so the majority of that money is coming from those two projects, or those two sort of non-plan related collection. And then there's a San Jose project, the first phase of which will probably make up the balance of that. Nitrogen deposition It's hard to say what that'll be. The city of San Jose chose to use economic development funds to subsidize the nitrogen fees on a lot of projects in certain areas of the city. So I don't know when we'll be collecting those fees, but this is just a guesstimate of what we think. It could be a lot higher than that. Wetland impacts, they've been very minimal to date. 100,000 might be a bit of a higher projection on my part. And then the participating special entity fees, that's primarily Caltrans Ferguson Road project. Even though it already has a BO, they're going to biological opinion through the CEQA NEPA process. They are going to mitigate impacts to salamanders and red-legged frogs through the plan. So they will be mitigating their impacts through our plan, even though they already have a BO and the project's been completed. And then the grant funds, the differential is the $2 million that was originally projected is the Section 6 grant that OSA got. So the land will be for Coyote Ridge, so the land will be enrolled in the reserve system, but we can't put the grant in our budget because we didn't receive it. OSA got it, so it should have never been there. So that's why there's that big differential there. So anticipated revenues are projected to be, if these projects come in before June 30th, are projected to be roughly 7.3 million. Projected back back in June was 14.385 million. So there's a big differential. And I think some of that is a result of pipeline projects. I don't think too much of it was. Some of it is development is not happening as quickly in the city of San Jose as was anticipated. There's been a couple projects in Gilroy that paid nearly $2 million in land cover fees and other associated fees late last year. So I think the numbers are high because of that grant being in there, and in my opinion it shouldn't be in there, and since we didn't get it, and probably a overambitious estimation on the burrowing owl fees that would be collected from the city of San Jose. So that's why there's the differential there. So we alerted the board to the discrepancies, and so I'll just continue. So expenditures to date are $677,000, just slightly more than that. One other thing in the original budget was a capital expenditures, which were projected to be roughly 11.2 million. We're not in the business of capital expenditures. It's not that it won't happen. We could buy equipment, we could build a bridge on reserve system lands. So I wouldn't say that capital expenditures won't happen. We're in the business of acquiring land, so it's asset management and asset accounting, and with our new accounting system that we're setting up, we will categorize land acquisitions accordingly as revenues going to a land asset, and that's how we'll be managing it. So it was probably not knowing how to classify that, but we have a CPA on board helping us creating a tracking and an accounting system, and we're going to be having software to be able to run reports, and so I think in the future you'll see more of probably
More
accuracy and an accounting process that you in the business world would be used to, or in the nonprofit world. So anticipated fiscal year 15 expenditures are approximately 1.7 million, which is 520,000 less than the budgeted amount of 2.21 million. So some good news, we won't be spending as much money as we thought, but our revenue projections are about a half of what they were anticipated to be. So,
Questions? Going once, going twice. Okay. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, we can move on to fiscal year 2015-16 budget schedule.
yeah, and it's just sort of to give you an idea of what we're going to go through. We're starting to meet with the co-permittees to get a sense on their projections, where possible a 5-year projection, but certainly from the land use agencies, try to at least get a 1 or 2 year projection on what they think revenues will be based on entitlements and sort of the land process, the land use processing system. There will be a budget workshop, and you guys will all be invited on May 21st at 1:30. It'll be just before the implementation board meeting. So if you can make it, that would be great. And we'll get into more details about what the budget will look like and what were some of the accomplishments of the agency over the past year.
Ed, would you repeat that date again?
May 21st at 1:30.
Where's the location?
It'll be here, yes. It'll either be in this room or in the West Conference room. So.
Then, any questions, comments? Okay, on the agenda, I didn't see an item for report from the executive officer.
Yes, but I'm going to give you some update too, if you'd like. Yeah.
Yes, please. But where should that go for next time?
Oh, it would go after everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. I didn't think I was going to report on anything, and then I said no. There's
Something
a lot.
Always comes up.
There's a lot I need to tell you. So I mentioned the Ferguson Road participating special entity agreement with Caltrans. We're also doing a very small one with PG&E, but it's the beginning of getting both those organizations comfortable with using our process. And one thing, when I met with KB Homes, they said, so we just write a check and no more games? And I said, yes, you just write a check and there's no more games.
Well, ask them for the tip.
Yes. And so I think at least for a large developer like KB Homes, the plan works. The back and forth that they went through before, which I think was more process-oriented than outcome-oriented, at least for them, this is a better deal. It creates certainty. They know up front. It helps them with their capital financing. For the smaller developer, Richard could address that better, and I think we need to get some more business representation in the light of Georgia leaving the board. So, and it's working for Caltrans and PG&E. So we'll hopefully it'll over the 50-year stretch here, it'll work for everybody, including the farmers and the environmental community.
Edmund?
Yes.
What is the PG&E project?
It's not far from Tulare Hill. It's just a pipeline maintenance. The amount of fees they're going to pay are like under $300.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it's just a small footprint, and it's a good way to sort of build a bridge with another partner. They have a a lot of requirements to mitigate for red-legged frog and tiger salamander, and there might be opportunities to buy some properties with them jointly. And to answer Kyle's concern, ranching and grazing is a big part of the success, but the long-term success of the plan for fuels management and definitely serpentine management for the butterflies and the plants. Yeah.
Here's a question.
Yes.
I know a piece of property that just sold that had an easement from the open space. Were you aware of that property being sold?
From OSA? No,
Yes.
I was not aware of that at all. No.
Well, actually, two pieces of Salachi. Salachi's ranch, but the
Kenyatta Road.
states, the state parks own that easement. They have another piece of property that was on Bloomfield that sold, that OSA had an easement on.
So OSA sold the properties?
Well, no.
Salachi sold the property, and there's easements on them.
easements on it, yes.
Yeah. So, interesting. No, I didn't know that. Yeah.
So no one's.
No.
Okay.
No.
Ed, you just gave the example, KB Homes. What's the size of the project? Where's it located? What was the fee they paid?
It's they're projecting the fees will be paid in April or May, and it's the Communication Hill development. Yeah. So there's 4 phases to that project, and it would be the first phase of that project. And they just did some calculations that they thought what the fees would be, and it was 1.8 million. Yeah.
How many homes altogether?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that. It was more based on
Acres?
yeah.
How many acres were involved?
I could share that information. Yeah. The big reason why the fees were high was serpentine soils were being impacted. So, and that's a project that we will be seeing coming before. We'll be seeing the fees on that relatively soon, from what I understand. But it was nice to hear that at least for one organization, they like the plan. I'm sure others don't, and I understand that. Yeah.
On the one-stop shopping center thought, we're still nowhere, or just where are we with Army Corps of Engineers?
From what I was told the other day, they're taking a year to the San Francisco office to even process a restoration project. So you need a permit to, let's say, restore a wetland or a stream channel. We're going to elevate pressure on them because it's important that we get that RGP, because this is where it would help a small developer or small landowner that they would have a streamlined 404 process for half-acre impacts or less. We're going to put a lot of pressure on them unless certain things change, and that means meeting with the higher-ups within the organization and also getting electeds involved, both at the federal and local level, to make calls to. Unfortunately, they're very responsive to that.
Yes.
Yes.
And besides Zoe Lofgren, there are many other who I would classify as friendly from this particular area.
And I would, being new to the area, I would certainly be interested in talking to you about that. I'll probably work through the county too and their lobbyists and advocates and see.
And I would bet the water district has a lobbyist too.
They do, yep. So it'll have to be, when we get to that point, a coordinated strategy for sure.
Okay. Any more for your report?
Yeah, just real quick, Caltrans is going to be donating a property off of 152 to the agency. It's Pacheco Creek. It was a mitigation site that they having trouble managing, and they're going to pay management costs for that and an endowment. And so we aren't just accepting land as a gift. We want money to help us manage the land, and they've at least tacitly agreed to all that. And their, what is it, land right-of-way group, their right-of-way group approved the donation. So at least that legal hurdle was, now we got to work out an agreement with them. It's an important piece of property because it allows for connectivity under 152. So it's right over by Pacheco Creek. And
Is that the area just below the dam, below the
yeah,
on the north side of 152? That
yes, it is just below that private dam. Yeah.
When and if that is settled, can we get an actual report on that?
Absolutely.
A more detailed one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I'll keep you up on all the ongoings with that. So public land enrollment, I mentioned it earlier. So Clara Park, the state park, and Coyote Valley, the OSA property, will be enrolled in the reserve system. And then Santa Teresa and Coyote Ridge will be the next two properties enrolled after that.
And Calero Reservoir does have a little bit of water in it now.
I know. I saw that. I was out there a couple weeks ago. Hopefully this next rainstorm will help too, if we get it.
Maybe I missed it. You said Calero State Park?
No.
I missed that.
No, a county park. If I said state, I misspoke.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there's a new park I didn't know about.
And so these are just existing parks that it's that land in lieu, which is available to the private sector too. There's a private land in lieu program also. So we're collaborating with PG&E on acquiring properties. I've met with all the conservation organizations in the region to discuss land acquisition and collaboration. I've met with some private landowners and I've talked to others. That so far, just talk. Next steps is to hire a realtor to assist the agency with finding willing sellers. And we also, one of the requirements of the plan is that it's not just mitigation monies that pay for the reserve system. So we'll be meeting with some of the local foundations, the Hewlett, the Packard, the Moore, all of them. But like Craig said, there's a lot of competition out there with TNC and Post and others who we all have the same goal and we all want to succeed, but we all have our marching orders too. So one of the big things we'll be doing is beginning the Section 6 grant process, and there's some properties we hope will be eligible to apply for those funds, and that's a federal grant program to acquire land, and you only can do it if you're HCP and CCP. So I met with the California Rangeland Trusts and looking into partnership. I met with some of their board members and Nancy Schaefer, and I think we had an excellent meeting last Friday about shared ideas, and hopefully there'll be some partnership opportunities for doing some outreach to the ranching community and maybe even working collaboratively on some easement agreements. The problem with us is so much of our money right now is mitigation money, and so the foundation money will be critical to sort of commingling gifts and other grants. And we're participating in that Santa Clara Valley Water District regional update of the region. Well, I guess it's their new integrated regional watershed management planning process. It's quite a lively, yes, biggest stakeholder group process I've ever been involved with.
Welcome to Santa Clara.
Yeah, and that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Ed, can I just respond to your question a few months ago in comparison to KB and their experience with you? As a small developer, we have been working along with Gavilan College, to whom we sold a good chunk of our property in Hollister area, San Benito County. We're in about our 6th or 7th year with Fish and Game and U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and over $1 million, and aren't even close to solving the mitigation of what they want. And so, you take a certainty which we've provided for developers. So I think, and that's why I supported the plan, and I think it's good. I just wish I had some land in here that I could take advantage of it, but I think it works well, and KB is a good example of that, and I think most of us in the development community support it because of the certainty that we have and the fee. I think it's the time that we save, which is the critical part.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment.
Okay, hearing, Greg.
I do have one thing to add. I don't. Do you have any tours planned on Coyote Ridge coming up? Have you talked with Stu?
Yes.
If not,
Jill's gonna. My assistant is gonna contact Stu and also OSA, and I mentioned to Jill today. Let's get that going, and that the PAC members be invited to that. Yep.
Okay, because just for the board, I've been leading tours up there for a number of years as a hike, but some people don't necessarily want to walk up. And so I think they're trying to arrange a day where people can drive up there
Okay.
and see things for those who don't want to.
So maybe we should have Jill call you too.
Call me, yeah, because
Yeah.
I work with OSA and do a lot of that. But
Okay.
with the rains coming this weekend, what we had in December, this should be our best wildflower year we've had in a long time. So it should be a really good year. Huh?
Should we charge a nitrogen deposition fee for those who drive up?
Maybe we should have a donation to the Land Conservancy
20 cents each
per foot.
per person?
Yeah.
You got me per foot. Oh, yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, then our next meeting will be May 7th here. And the next meeting of the implementation and the governing board will be?
It's Angie. I know it's March. What is it? 19th, I think. It's that third Thursday, whatever that is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And those are at 3 o'clock.
Correct.
Okay.
And it'll be another joint meeting of the two boards. Yeah.
And that makes, it's efficient.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so one last call? Then let's adjourn, 7:26. And I will note that is our earliest ever.
Excellent.
Bring more stuff, Ed. We don't have enough stuff to.
I know.
So seriously, Craig, is that your projections are on what you think you're going to get for rain? Because, I mean, we got it in January.
Well, this weekend we're expecting
Yeah,
2 to 4
exactly.
inches.
Yeah.